What?
What?
Yeah?
It's just a little off.
What do you want me to do? Do you want me to take it apart and put it back together?
No, 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 no. It was just...
You just what?
Hey, man, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bum you out. I shouldn't have brought it up. Darn it, I can be such a jerk sometimes.
All right. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you enjoyed that. I just wanted to do it that way. We are going to look at a few different things and talk about Superman. I went the other day and watched it again. That's about, 6 times. And I have paid attention to these others. I got some stuff behind the camera and everything that I'm trying to look at. There's just various developments, and I want to do some things in real time. So we're going to jump to one thing right now that and just show you this. All right, this is Rotten Tomatoes, as you see, and we are going to scroll down, and I have put up my review, and I've done it several different times. And I'm going to just show this to you. I'm putting it up as one because of the way Rotten Tomatoes does things. Right there, you see. Try again. Okay, well, I'll try again. Hit it again. Come on. Alright, we'll leave without posting then. I'll do this. I will refresh my Rotten Tomatoes. Alright. And we will go to... Let's see what it pulls up. Okay, it's pulling up Superman. I'm going to scroll down to my review. Oh. Do they not have me logged in anymore? Oh. Let's see what they're doing here. They've always had it available, but not only when I log in and I look at these different things. So let's see here. Alright, so I'm logged in. And we're going to go Superman. Doing real time for you. You already saw. They did not allow me to post it. Alright, so we're going to go to him. Now, since we're doing it this way, let's go ahead and go to it. And there's a lot of stuff going on as far as what I've got open here, so let me try to minimize some of it as much as possible. Alright. Over to Superman. And where is the... There you go. The tomato meter. We'll pull up the tomato meter. And what you see is what you get, right? The top critics, instead of, what is that, 83%? It's 71%. It's just one way of manipulating the numbers and stuff. Verified audience. All audience below 90%. Even the verified audience is 91% now. It's been maybe that way for just a little while. But listen, this saying all audience and verified audience. But again, we scroll down to my review. It's still there. And I click on edit and then post. It's posted. It's supposed to be posted. Let's show you this. I'll go to my ratings. And if I wasn't doing it in real time and just showing you something pre-recorded, this would be a little quicker. Alright, so there we are. Here it is. My review. Alright. It is on there. And you can't really see my pointer going just to the top of the screen. But I'm going to come back to this and then refresh it. So it's going to show my reviews again. And you'll see that thing will be gone. Guaranteed. Now, let's go not to that. Let's go to some numbers. And the numbers.com, the hyphen numbers.com, has some box office market summaries for different years. So here's 2013. Here's 2025. We're gonna come back to that. Uh, let's do it this way. For a moment, I did, like I said, I went back to the movie, watched it again, best I could. I kind of fall asleep during some of this because I'm tired, and uh, unfortunately the movie does not keep me, you know, excited. There's also other movies that have come out, and there's comparisons being made everywhere. I haven't really done any of those things, although I'm going to do them separate, like um, some talking about movies. Fantastic Four, that's one. I'm going to definitely do a review of that and a review of a couple other things. But like I said, I was just making notes and and things and remembering my disappointment. The best thing I can say about this is, to me, it's a disappointment. Okay, as my little video shows, and I did that. I appreciate any compliments on it. If I made mistakes, you can point those out as well. I'm gonna try a couple other ways of doing it too, but we'll just see what happens. So, um, the I'm kind of torn about how to explain this, but as I was watching it again, for a number of times, my disappointment again has to do with misuse of characters, missed opportunities, and things like that, and then more so with James Gunn. James Gunn, for me, and for a number of people, uh, had ruined the movie. He was the wrong choice. It was not the best idea. It just the way his movies are, and I promise you. In fact, um, I may go to the IMDb and kind of look up some of that, and just or we could look at Box Office Mojo or something else with him. But anyway, the I really can't get into um, exactly what I'm thinking and the way I wanted to go with this. So I gotta approach it a little different way because I want to get more to numbers than anything else. To just kind of point it out and not take too much time. Um, I feel like all this is slowing down in the first place. Bear with me a second. One moment. All right. Sorry about the little break. I'm just, I don't know. The camera seemed to be jumping on me. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's behind my voice. I don't know. But hopefully it's okay, or it's not too distracting. So, again, the disappointment. I think what I'm going to do is do another video concerning the disappointment and the way it is edited and the usage of people and stuff like that. And just a brief look at it is the idea that James Gunn introduced a bunch of stuff. It's amazing because behind the scenes he would say, "Oh, this is comic book stuff. This is comic book lore. This is in the comics and stuff, things like that." The main stream comics, okay, the regular comics through the ages did not have the things that he talks about. For instance, hypnoglasses. For instance, the evil parents from Krypton. That is all nonsense to me, and bad choices, and a really bad idea. If he couldn't figure out any other way to come up with what he did there, um, then that's just poor creative ability. That's really all it is. I just read Superman for All Seasons, right? Superman for All Seasons apparently, or it doesn't introduce the Kryptonian side of him within that time of Superman. So it leaves that kind of a mystery, but gives the suggestion to it by um, by Lex Luthor. It says something about you know alien, and then maybe that starts the thought process. But that was well done. I mean, I don't know of anybody that would say that Superman for All Seasons is not a very good comic book. Um, I see a lot in it. Okay, a lot of really good stuff and things that could have been used um, to help with this. But anyway, there's a bunch of different ways you could have accomplished that kind of thought process that he supposedly has. Okay, um, but nevertheless, the editing of the movie came down to it playing off incorrectly anyhow. So, and that's the other missed opportunity. Even if you're going to do it the way you did it, and really, the fans have spoken that is wrong. All right, and now there's because Superman has come out on digital release, people have been watching the movie, pausing it, zooming in, and they found on the TV screens what they're going to do, find the little um, news blurb that's coming up, and they're claiming that one of them says that essentially Lex Luthor faked the message, the rest of the message, a half of the message, or whatever. However, in the movie and James Gunn in interviews while it was still just in theaters, was claiming, and again, the movie, 4 or 5 times, I think it's 5 times, repeats that this uh, this is true. This message was taken directly from the parents. He didn't have to change anything. He didn't have to alter it. I know one person that I'm aware of, watching the movie, said that his colleague, the engineer, um, altered it, and even though Lex didn't know, she knew. Think something like that. None of that's shown in the movie. James Gunn came along and said, "I don't know how anybody can say it's not true. It's repeated, and it is that it is a true message." Um, so some people have suggested it's a retcon, that the blurb about the Daily Planet proving that the false image of the Kryptonians, um, and it kind of trails off. You've got to go check it out for yourself, see what all it says. Write to James Gunn, see what he says about it. Maybe he's changed his tune. But the fans have spoken that it should have been a faked message. Okay, that it should have been, even if you left it ambiguous in the movie, instead of trying to say yes, it's true. We know the computer guy, Mr. Terrific says, I know those computer techs or guys, whatever, and they wouldn't have said that it was authentic if it wasn't. They wouldn't lie, you know. They wouldn't be bought off or anything like that. I know them, and I'm all fine with that. I'm fine with them saying that it is true. I'm fine with the government man saying the message is true, and then Lex Luthor saying that it's true. I'm really fine with all of that. I'm not fine with the fact that it was done at all myself. And the fans the same way. The fans of Superman are against that. They are trying to find any way they can. Even the James Gunn Superman fans are trying to find a way to say that isn't a real message. It's not real. He faked it. They're still trying to find how he faked it, even though he said it's true. So going back to that, though, um, the it should have been, if you were going to do it right, it should have been left ambiguous. Like you didn't know for sure whether or not Luther had altered it, and he could have paid off all those computer guys. You know, those computer guys weren't named, so Mr. Terrific didn't have to say, "I know those guys." It wasn't edited in a way where he would have definitely known them. He might have said, "Hey, I can check into this and see if it's legit," you know. And maybe, in the second movie or another movie or follow up or whatever, somebody along the line finds out it was faked. But you leave it ambiguous in this one, he still has the dilemma of assuming that it's true because he's never heard it before, and then having to deal with what he has to deal with. And you do that by probably starting the movie with the Lois Lane interview. And Lois Lane then publishes that the message was so important to him. And then you get a couple of days before Lex finds the message and then presents the fuller message, and everybody, claims to or very quickly believes that. The way that we have it, it's the night before, no time to put it anywhere. Maybe get that interview online somehow, figured out, edited as well as she thinks she can. But we have no indication that there was an interview published in the Daily News, not Daily News, the Daily Planet. So that's the problem. If you published it and people saw it, uh, even alongside Hammer of Bravia story and stuff like that, it would have worked better. That's just an example, and I'm going to do a video that kind of ticks through a lot of stuff. Okay, um, and different ways that it could have been done, and things that shouldn't have been in it, things that you know. In my opinion, things that shouldn't have been in it would have allowed for more space and all that. But for now, okay, it's been released on digital, um, and we're going to look at the numbers. And I'm not going to jump to all the people trying to say that these are really good numbers and stuff. Okay, get see variety. Um, just looking for a particular article. But um, goodness, this is not the one I'm looking for. And yeah, again, sorry, it's in real time. I'm trying to both see it and do more with it. All right, go to film. This was several days ago. No. All right. So in the meanwhile, let me just say I'm not a James Gunn fan. Um, Now, I have watched Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and I enjoy the vast majority of all three of those movies. It diminished for me, and there's there's something about uh, just what he does that just I dislike. Let me go to this real quick. Let's see here. Past, let's just say 7 days. And, no, 7 days. Oh, sorry about this. Uh, oh goodness. Um, we heard a few days ago that Terrence Stamp had passed away, August the 17th. So I'm a little late on that. Honor him. Uh, General Zod and Superman, of course, and Yes Man, and Get Smart, right? And so many other things. Get Smart with Steve Carell and The Rock and others. Uh, I think an underrated movie, perhaps. Um, this may not tell me everything here. Let's go to the second page. And I've watched a number of movies since then too. No, I'm gonna have to go 30 days. All right, so um, I was mentioning my dislike of James Gunn. Uh, Several things have come out more. I have a lot more respect. Well, a lot, somewhat more respect. I appreciate David Corn Sweat. I don't really have a problem with his acting, his attempt to be Superman. I think that the suit was dreadful and so forth, but uh, and I don't believe that the writing was good, and just several things. Let me just look at it this way. We're gonna look at this here. Maybe it was comic book news. I think comic book news gives a fair show of this. But let me do this. James Gunn. Just focus on James Gunn. Um, it's not that I dislike him as necessarily a person. I don't know him. But the movies he puts out are not uh, tremendously appealing. Although I can like some of them. Okay, or I can like them in some way and maybe not in another way. Right. So let's see here. So we're going to look at this. And this is, of course, IMDb. I'm going to I'm going to move it in so I can see a little better. All right, so you may or may not be able to see my pointer. In fact, I know you can't see it when I'm doing this. Okay, but you can kind of see me highlight Peacemaker, Superman, those kind of things. All right, so let's just scroll on way back, or as far back as we can. And I'll try to look over there as much as possible. So, there's. I'm not going to get into all of it. You can just think about James Gunn and whatever has happened and stuff like that. So he's good. I have not seen the specials. Intend to watch it sometime. Got these Tromo films, of course. Uh, Additional writing uncredited for 13 Ghosts. I watched 13 Ghosts. It's not very well received. I was okay with it. Uh, it's not especially scary or anything. Scooby Doo, again, screenwriter for that. Dawn of the Dead, it says he did screenplay. Um, so he worked with Zack Snyder on this. That doesn't necessarily bring him up very much because the whole uh, it may be popular, but the whole zombie um, genre of movies is not super appealing to me at all. It doesn't interest me. It doesn't draw me in directly. Although I've watched 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later and 28 years. There was a 28 Months Later that somebody put out, and it was supposed to be following the same idea, but it wasn't. Like, it's not connected to those movies. But anyway, Day of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, um, Dawn of the Dead, you know, all these things. Even Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead and his newer um, 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 movies on Netflix, uh, Army of the Dead, and was it, there's some stuff that's hopefully going to come out, and some animated things that are just waiting to be finished and stuff like that. Uh, I'm not comparing this to Zack. I'm not trying to compare it to Zack Snyder, but since the comparison has been made, you have to show the accuracy or inaccuracy of that comparison. So I'm just going to go into that here mostly today, and I'm leading up to it. But these things are not super impressive for me. That he wrote Scooby Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed is not super impressive to me. I'm okay with those movies. I enjoyed seeing a live action version of those characters and stuff, and that kind of thing happening. Um, it's interesting to me. All right, Slither. Some people may say that I have to watch Slither because apparently that's probably his best outside of this. Now, keep going up though. I have seen Super. I have seen Super a couple of times. I greatly dislike Super. Super is not a good movie to me. It's not well written. It's full of terrible things. It's not a movie for families or children, uh, and really not one for adults. To tell you the truth, I'm just it's a it's a juvenile adult film. Okay, that's it's disgusting. And I mean, but I'm not going to go too much further than this. The movie 43 is widely hated by so many people. Now here we get Guardians of the Galaxy, and then uh, the Belko Experiment. I've not seen it yet. I've seen parts of it for some reason and just haven't seen the whole thing. But again, what I'm aware of it is very violent and all that, and gratuitous gore and stuff like that. So anyway, maybe I'll think differently after I actually see it and try to examine it. But I'm assuming it's and got some similarities to Super, where I'm not going to like it while other people did. But he's coming off of the success there of Guardians of the Galaxy to get that Belko experiment out there. And then you got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Guardians of the Galaxy up here, Volume 3, and the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special before that. And like I said, I somewhat enjoyed all of these, but there are things that I dislike about him. His juvenile humor I dislike, foulness, language I dislike. So all of that plays into it. The Suicide Squad movie. Um, I'm not a fan of it. I dislike it. It flopped tremendously at the box office. I think people loudly shout that it's a great movie and that it's better than the other that's chopped up terribly. We haven't even seen what David Ayer's vision was for the movie. If they would just give uh, us fans that, you know, there'd be a lot more silence on our end about what's going on. Because, anyway, stuff is coming out from James Gunn that a number of us don't want. We don't want his stuff at all. And then some of us that are okay with other things he's done, 3 out of 6 movies or so, half of them, or 7 movies, and a little bit less than half. And then Superman is, in a sense, ruined for me because of James Gunn. And if it wasn't ruined for me because of James Gunn, I could put it a little bit higher. Now, like I said, what you saw with Rotten Tomatoes, me putting a 1 star, is an attempt to show what people who are being silenced on their platform are actually putting a lower rating on the movie. Okay. However, the majority of those are about 3.5 stars. Something to that effect, a little bit less than that, maybe 3 stars. Even 3 stars is considered fresh. So if it's not 2.5 stars or less, then they're marking it as fresh. Why would they not allow somebody to comment with a lower ranking? Now, I did have a higher star rating with them and then lowered it because they kept on deleting my 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 review and ranking. Anyway, but like I said, I would think better about Superman, even as it exactly is, if it wasn't James Gunn. Because there's a lot of behind the scenes that I would think better about it myself. I wouldn't necessarily rate it higher. Now, if they had cut out some of the cussing, there's a lot of language in this movie for something that should be a very family friendly and very family inviting movie. And the same thing should be able to be said about the Guardians of the Galaxy, and in the end, anyway, I'm criticizing another thing, but I'm really criticizing James Gunn. I don't have anything good to say about it. I've heard some things about Creatures Commandos, which sounds to me like there's sexual garbage in it, and it, again, not family oriented or family friendly. Okay. The Marvel films, Iron Man, Thor, etc., throughout had been, for the most part, very family friendly. There might be a few things somewhere later on that's like not as family friendly. They've generally kept it out of that, except for Deadpool, for instance. But Creature Commandos, I didn't watch it. I've not heard good things about it from most people. There are some people that have enjoyed it, apparently, or that thought that there were some interesting things, and there very well may be. You can always intersperse interesting things in something that's terrible and come away with, it's ultimately terrible, even though there's good little things interspersed throughout. Not something I would recommend watching, especially not for families. And again, Superman ought to be family oriented. Superman is leading directly into the Peacemaker season 2 things. I'm not going to get into I'll say rumors I've heard, but confirmed things by people that watched the movie. So it's a rumor to me. It's a confirmed thing by people that review the show. But there's just it is not a family friendly show. Okay, and the first season wasn't family friendly. It's not something that I would want my children to watch. I did watch through all of that, and I wasn't super impressed. There's some humor. There may be an arc of some sort, but there's just so much disgusting stuff in it that it cannot be recommended to the average audience of a family. Okay, the vast majority of this country is not single nasty men. Okay, even single men, the vast majority are not nasty. Okay, it's just the vast majority are not. It may be promoted in Hollywood as if the vast majority are, but it's not true. Okay, the vast majority have there's decency and anyway. Um, just I don't really need to defend the vast majority. The vast majority just needs to really speak up more, be very vocal. But we've got more to do in life than all of this. So the first season to me wasn't super impressive, and it got disgusting in a number of jokes and imagery and stuff like that. And of course, too much gratuitous violence and everything else. Uh, and I may never revisit that at all. But to try to lead into Peacemaker season 2 from Superman, and then go from there to the Green Lanterns series, which Nathan Fillion came out and said that he has dropped more f bombs in the making of that show than any other project he's ever been on. Now, I see Nathan Fillion from time to time, but that being a brag would seem to indicate to me that he's used the word enough. I'm not a fan of any foul language at all. None of it needs to be in any of these movies at all. I could make an argument for that, but I'm not going to worry about all that. And yeah, I criticize Zack Snyder's films for the same use of any foul language. Okay, and but there's not as much in Man of Steel as there is here in this Superman movie that has come out that we're talking about. So James Gunn is though the principal mover of this thing. James Gunn is setting the stage for Supergirl. Supergirl, and again, Green Lanterns having that dynamic of foul language and probably following Peacemaker and the type of movie that's going to be, or type of show rather that's going to be there, is it's revealing the same thing is going to be coming in whatever is coming in DC. Now, if Superman was coming around to clean it all up, that would be amazing. Somehow, you know, deal with Peacemaker and stuff like that. But I don't think so. Peacemaker seems to be more James Gunn's preferred um, subject matter. He had to include him in Superman. All right. And he says something, I forget what it was, so I'm not going to try to comment on it now. In that TV interview that was, yeah, that's not great. Anyway, um, but yeah, it's unfortunate, but James Gunn is making the choices. Okay, so, but we're going to go to numbers pretty much here. I'm going to mention, well, no, I'm not going to mention that. I'm going to get rid of that. And then I'm going to get rid of this one. And we're going to go back here for a second. So the thing about numbers is that they can, unfortunately, from time to time, be manipulated in ways. Good ways, bad ways. It kind of depends on the push and the promotion of some people. Okay, so if we go to um, yeah, I'm gonna go to the numbers, and or I'll just go to Box Office Mojo because it'll pop up a little quicker here. Um, Again, let's get this going in real time. Okay, Box Office Mojo weekend. You got the weapons. It was a very interesting movie. Um, Somewhat. It was interesting to a point. It kept me interested in it. Became hilarious to me at a point, and so forth. Freaky Friday, I think, was a very good movie. Fantastic Four, I think, was well done, and it is actually more impressive than Superman, and could have been a better blueprint for Superman. You see, obviously, there's no Superman here. So let's click on this, hit Superman, and go to Superman. All right, there we go. All right, pulling him up, pulling Superman up. All right, we're gonna just say that 400 and $55,000 is going to come in within a few days. So it's going to break 600 million at some point worldwide. Domestic 343,545,000, etc. And it's out on digital, and it's going to hurt any further into the box office. Right now, last one was less than 500,000 on it's saying Thursday, which was yesterday for me, probably a couple of days ago before I get this up and gone. But even making that much more, and I'll show you the numbers I'm going to work with here in a little bit. This amount has been compared, and the promotion that's coming out now is trying to compare just domestic and forget about worldwide. But it's never been that way before. I understand because the only thing that you have is saying the domestic as is, not concerning any kind of inflation numbers, is better than, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman. Still under, I think, the Batman. So I'm trying to see if we can look for that too. Let's see, the Batman. I say real time. The Batman, and we're gonna go back and look at something else. So the Batman currently has it's about what 15 million, 25 million more. 340. We're gonna say 345, and so 370 almost is about 25 million more. Yeah, but worldwide, 772 million. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the Batman. I'm not going to criticize it now, but that wasn't super impressive to me. Back in the day either. When it came out. However, look at the Dark Knight, and this came out in 2008. Now, 2008. Yeah, five. This is beyond Superman or the Batman or anything else like that. That's that because it's just so great. Maybe. Let's look at the Batman. Batman Begins. I think that Dark Knight Rises is a little bit lower than that. Batman Begins in 2003. 2005, so it's another 8 or 9 years before the numbers we're looking at. But it's beginning at 206 million and 375 worldwide. I'm going to pull up a calculator. Now, you're not going to be able to see this because it's just mine. But 206 million. Oh, I was going to say 207 because it's like 208 or 206.8. Just to make the numbers easier. And I'm just going to throw want to throw a figure in there. Let's see here. Yeah. Adjusted for inflation. I'll tell you what, we can do that too. In real time. $207 million in 2005, adjusted for inflation, 2025. Cumulative price change. What's this? Does that say 2.55? All right, so it would adjust to 340, about what Superman made. Okay, and if we adjusted for inflation, if we change this number to our 375 million, right? And we'll get the same. Well, we would have gotten the same thing. Would have been nice. So it equates to about 608 million. So Batman Begins, for what some people are trying to make a comparison, okay, yeah, Superman could be doing it along the same lines as Batman Begins. Okay, there's a whole lot of differences. There's a whole lot of factors involved that tell me it shouldn't be that way. Okay, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises did not make Superman the Man of Steel what it was. It was that it was a Man of Steel. It was a Superman movie that we had been waiting for. Okay, Superman fans, DC fans, we were getting Batman movies. We could watch a Batman movie. Okay, we had Batman '89. They were gonna redo Batman. I remember the thoughts that were running through my mind at the same time. It's like, Batman, already came out. We have 4 Batman movies. Oh, they got all goofy and everything. We understand. That's no problem. So you can just start it all over or something like that. Why not just pretend some things didn't happen, sort of like Brandon Routh in the Superman Returns movie, and make an updated or next Batman, follow the next story. Now you're going to start it over again. Okay, we'll do it that way. So, and I'm not saying it had no effect whatsoever, and Christopher Nolan's name being attached and stuff like that had no effect. Sure, but it has less effect than some people want to put on it. And I would be getting into too much stuff, and I want to keep this a little bit shorter than that. So I'm gonna X out of this. But when I do, I think it's gonna go to my next one. And yeah, just got rid of what I wanted. My computer just behaving improperly. There's our thing. All right. James Gunn's Superman lost over half of the audience of Zack Snyder's films. Okay, and the article says it's past the numbers, domestically, but when you look at the actual figures, higher ticket prices and stuff like that, doing a lot of the work. I'm going to show you that the best I can. And this says Grok breaks down the numbers. And I'm not disagreeing with this because I haven't read it in detail and compared it. I just went to Grok. So you can read the comic book thing yourself. Now, since we're here, we will refresh Rotten Tomatoes, showing my reviews. You saw Superman was up there. Let's see. On again. So, Rotten Tomatoes. You just saw, this is your evidence, your anecdotal, if you will, evidence. You can do it yourself if you like, that they manipulate the numbers. Seriously, manipulate the numbers. They did the same thing for Snow White. I posted my reviews of both of those things dozens of times. Now, Superman's been on there at least a dozen or more times. I've put it back on there. Snow White, I stopped counting after 30. So, Rotten Tomatoes is illegit. Please, y'all, go to Letterboxd or Criticalist, I think is the other site. Look those things up and go to them. All right, you can do better. This is the streaming world. Okay, Superman is apparently doing well in Voodoo, and so is Mission Impossible. Oh, this is good. So we see what we got here. Now this is Chile. I don't really even know what it is. It does have Mission Impossible, but I don't think. No, I know Superman's not quite available for it. It didn't say when the release was going to be. This Rakuten TV is not does not have Superman on it. Now this is Google. I assume Superman would be on Google, but it's not showing up in the top 10. All right, Mission Impossible's right there though. Mission Impossible's #1. Over here on iTunes and Amazon. Amazon #2. Jurassic World is #1. And where do we have? Let's see here. Jurassic World's #4 on the iTunes. Superman down here at #10. Now I've seen it at #8. It's kind of floated in this area. The Accountant 2. Oh, I'm so glad it's getting some traction. Accountant 2 is really good. Superman right down here at #10. Again, I wouldn't doubt that it could be a little higher. Something that I saw on this site. This site is Flix Patrol. I'm not 100% sure how to read it and everything. There is a paid version where you get into more details and stuff like that. So there's just a lot that's probably available with this. But I was just trying to get some basic information, and it's to give me some basic information. And I do have, this is actually, Voodoo is now Fandango at Home. And I do have that. Ooh, this difference between domestic and box. I'll tell you what, let's just change it to worldwide. Oh, is that worldwide? Okay. No, let's go. Okay, here we go. Movies and shows on Voodoo. Top TV shows The Rainmaker. Not quite sure what we're looking at there. Alright, anyway. Nevertheless, hey, look, Dominion. Jurassic World Dominion is up here in the top numbers. Bad Guys above that. Minecraft movie's been out for a little while. Anyway, that was just something to look at, and some people have been pointing out it's not doing as well on streaming as it really should. As it just released on streaming, it should be. It should hit in every market it's in #1. I mean, if it's so well selling of a movie. Before we go to that, though, I'm going to the comparison. So it said worldwide is what the comic book movie thing was showing. That Man of Steel had so many tickets sold, and Superman has so much less sold. So this is part of the reason why adjusting for inflation is important, or adjusting for ticket prices is important, or something like that. There was a thread on Facebook that I'm not going to take you to or make you look at, where a man posted $5 for a matinee show at a theater. $5 was the matinee price, And I remember that being, generally speaking, the price. And there was in my vicinity, uh, most of the theaters, same price. They had the same basic structure. They may be 50 cents different than each other. And they had the cheap theaters, which was getting the movies later on, and then they would drop the price, $5 or $4 or three or two or whatever it was. And that exists kind of across the country, where there's some places that are less expensive. The average is going to be important, and we'll get to that in just a few minutes. Um, but the domestic market, from the numbers, shows Man of Steel. It says this tickets sold for Man of Steel were 35,798,000, so nearly 35.8 million tickets sold. 956, of course. Now they do that. If you divide this number, the 91,045,518, by this number, you come up with a specific $8.13 average ticket price. Sorry, I'm just trying to clear my throat. Now, we go over to 2025, and we scroll down, and it says the average ticket price is $11.31. All right, and Superman here is at 3, with 343 million. I want to say 345 million here in just a moment. But this number, gross sales, and then the number of tickets sold. You notice right there, it is 5,420,000 less than Man of Steel in tickets sold. People that viewed it, however many times they may have viewed it. Now, I've watched this movie, like I said, more than 6 times. I fell asleep, so I don't count them as full times. I've watched the movie 6 times. Now, a lot of gun fanatics haven't watched the movie more than twice, 3 times maybe, before coming out on digital, or I'm just talking about in the theater. All right. I also noticed in the digital part that this was one of the things that was on Flick's Patrol, is it shows the number of torrent seeds there are, which, as I understand, is pirating the movie, and therefore people are not wanting to pay for the movie, but they're getting it and watching it. And I think some people that are part of the Wallets Closed movement are doing it that way. So it's getting some traction of views that way, not necessarily being viewed for good or enjoyment. Just letting you know, just saying that. But anyway, but here we have Superman. It's at least this 5,400,000, almost 5.5 million less tickets sold, and this is just domestically. This is just domestic. Okay, and it numbers vary and all that. So, but like I said, $5 was what this gentleman put out there as a matinee price. I just looked up a matinee price in my area. It's $13.49. $13.49. Okay, so again, that's almost 2.7 times as much today. 2.7. When we adjust for inflation and say that Man of Steel has a number of over $400 million, that's adjusted at a rate of 1.3 and some change. Okay? 291 million times 1.3, I'm going to say 7, is just under 400 million. I want to say it may be almost 1.4. Okay, 1.4. But I just told you and showed you, well, without giving you the actual calculator on the screen. But if you multiply $5 times 2.7, it's 13.5 or $13.50. That's the matinee price difference today from 2013. Okay, just from one person showing it, they showed their ticket. And I don't know whether or not I saved all my tickets. I could go back and try to find, because I probably do have my Man of Steel tickets. But I know I had my opening night was for Superman. It was a regular showing because that was all that they had. It was a Walmart pre-showing. There was IMAX, there's 3D, and then there's the regular 2D. That's all that we had back then in our area, and there were some 4DXs and stuff like that showing up around the country, uh, either then or within the next few years. But like I said, we didn't have much of that, or we had a couple of seats in the theaters that moved around and did some stuff. Just a little bit of D action, if you will. And by the way, I watched Superman and Man of Steel rather in that. But my ticket for the pre-showing, the Thursday night showing, uh, at apparently it was at 7 o'clock, and I think they had another one at 10 o'clock. It was $10. You bought $10, you got a little gift thing and stuff like that from Walmart, and little memorabilia kind of thing. And I should bring that out sometime. I can't say I know because I don't know the ticket price. It would not show up. Okay, when I went to Fandango and signed in and all that to the Prime account to get the Prime thing for the Tuesday before, and I went to the regular Thursday showings. Actually, first showing in the 4DX chairs, but the 4DX goes for somewhere around $26 to $28. So $10 to $26, $28, something in that range, is about 2.7 times. So the ticket price inflation for movies is not necessarily, 1.4. I know I'm comparing a 2D showing to, a 4DX showing. But IMAX is pretty much the same price, and the 3Ds are showing for $4 or $5 more than a regular ticket price, and a regular ticket price is running these days, I think, somewhere around $18 or $19. And as I remember, the ticket price back then was about 10, maybe even maybe 12, for some. Um, and that's a factor closer to 1.7. Okay. Now, again, I'm giving you this kind of off the top of my head, doing it in real time, and telling you what it is. But that's essentially the factor difference of price that I see. So we're looking at inflation, saying inflation overall is this XYZ amount, and that's true. Our inflation overall is this or that, but it affects different markets in different ways. In the movie market, it's higher. It's a higher inflation. So again, when we say 400 million is Superman adjusted, or Man of Steel rather, adjusted for inflation, that doesn't mean that's actually a low estimate. Is the idea. We are doing that very conservatively. We are giving you the closest comparison that you can if you're going to be honest in your dealings. Okay. But we're going to go further. Again, 5 million plus less people watching this. And I'm telling you that Zack Snyder fans are watching this. The people that are have watched it and come away from the movie disliking it, whether or not they're Snyder fans or not. Um, uh, it just, uh, it's amazing. Um, that the movie was given a chance, okay? And there's plenty of people that enjoyed the movie that take a different perspective of it than I do, all right? Or that see these flaws and like give it a pass because it's again another Superman movie. Let's see where it's going and let's try to be excited about. But I see where it's going because have been, like I said already, it's going into Peacemaker, and then Guy Gardner type of Green Lantern that cusses all the time. Sorry, it's not. It's not appealing to family audiences. And Supergirl being portrayed as if she's a whorish drunkard, which is really where people are. She's out there partying and stuff. I know they don't want to say whorish, but that would be what they're trying to portray. That she's out there loose with all the mm, mascara running down and all that. She looked rough in the movie. That does not portray the comic book it's coming from, right? In any way that I can think of. Uh, anyway, not digging into that next thing, but it doesn't sound family friendly. That is not a role model for little girls. Okay? Now, could they turn that around and make it something different? Absolutely. Sure could. I don't think they're going to because it's the way that they portrayed her in the movie, and this is the James Gunn version of a universe. So that's where it is. But let's go to Grok and look at some ticket sale questions. All right. So what I did, I just asked Grok earlier, what was the average movie ticket price in 2013? The average ticket was approximately $8.13. All right. According to National Association of Theater Owners and Box Office Mojo. What's the average ticket price today? As of 2025, the average movie ticket price in the United States is approximately $16.08. Based on data from major theater chains like AMC, Regal, Cinemark, with prices varying by state from $9.08 to $23.10. Okay, that's what we're looking for. It's an average, an approximate. Oops, scroll up a little bit. Based on this, could you provide an estimated number of tickets sold for Man of Steel and for Superman? Man of Steel sold. We use this calculation. Let me try to move slowly here. Okay. Average tickets, estimated tickets, 35,700,000. That's pretty close to that. Now, the numbers, I don't know if they're giving us incorrect numbers. If they're, I don't know what they're doing. So I'm not getting into any of that. We just saw it's about $5 higher as the average is what they said, and I find that to be accurate. A regular 2D movie is that. The $13.49 is the matinee price. Then you got $5 movies and stuff like that specials and things like that factor into this. but you also have the $26 movies. And I watched as Jurassic Park frequently sold a third of, 2/3 of the 4DX theaters, which is again closer to $30 a ticket. 20, we'll just say 25. So the average does make sense to me that it would be closer to $16 than the $11 that the numbers gave. I did not tell Grok anything though. I just asked him what it was. And so, based on this, Superman at $16.08, and it's at $316 million in box office sales, and gave it a little bit less than 20 million. So what I did, and I understand all this stuff. The ticket sales for Superman reflect its final gross product. Superman's not done yet, and stuff. I get all that. They vary by region and theater type, IMAX, 3D, and all that. I understand. We've already mentioned all that. That I get how that may factor in, or you take it into account. Okay? But I said, would you update that figure to 345 million to give it a little bit of leeway? All right, so tickets sold 21,455,000. If Grok's number is correct, or if not, we've got a range of 21.5 million up to, what was it, 30.7 or 8 million, whatever it was on the numbers. Let's go, we'll just click back on numbers. Oh, I'm sorry, 30.375, or we'll just say 30.4. 30.4 million. So from 21 million, which sounds closer to me, okay, up to 30 million. It's still 5 million to 14 million less. Okay? So I said, well, we'll take those numbers, we'll go from there, and say, he's got, of course, notes. Can you run a similar analysis on international sales? Ticket price first, then estimated ticket sales. And it was going through its thinking process. I was sitting there seeing things pop up and all that, all these different searches it was doing and trying to come up with stuff. So based on data from sources like Box Office Mojo, Statista, and cost of living databases, Numbeo, have estimated weighted averages for major international markets where these films performed strongly. These estimates account for marketing specific prices and the distribution of box office gross across countries. Oops. Get back up there. Average ticket prices. All right. Back in the day, $6.32 in 2013. $12.54, almost double today. That's almost 2 times. That's the inflation rate. It's closer to 2 times. So I mean, an inflation rate probably 1.8 is probably an accurate inflation rate for movie tickets. So again, if we go back to 291, 291 million times 1 point, I'm going to say 8. That's 523 million and change for Man of Steel. Okay. And 670 million times the same is 1.2 billion. So again, we were doing estimates for the low end, but these figures really are showing to me what I've already known. The ticket prices are nearly double what they were when I went to watch Man of Steel many times in the theater. I have not watched James Gunn's Superman as many times as I watched Man of Steel in the theater. And I won't, because it's going to be gone before I could anyway. But it's not something that I wanted to go try to see every day and 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 relive what was being shown and so forth. They pulled it out of the theater fast too. But anyway, estimated ticket sales based on this international um, box office gross. Tickets sold is almost 60 million tickets. You got 60 million and 35 million and plus. It was almost 36 million. But 35, we're just going 35. So 95 million tickets sold. Superman and estimating, 602 million um, for the worldwide gross currently. We're going to give the extra. As 257 million overseas, which is an accurate amount. It's a little bit less than our figures, about a million less tickets than domestically sold, which makes sense. It again makes sense. 21.5 million and 20.5 million make 42 million. 42 million tickets sold. And of course, the caveats remain the same. I asked him to put it into a graph. The first graph just showed the data right next to each other. So I asked him to change the graph. I'm going to scroll down a little bit here. And to put them side by side. So we're going to look at this side by side. I may have to move this. Oh, this is good. All right, there we go. Market, domestic, and international. Man of Steel is in the blue. You want to know the exact numbers? We don't have to give them, but there's 42 million against 95 million. The 42 million twice is 84 million. Okay. That means another 10, 11 million beyond double what Superman has gotten in ticket sales. So this film should not be doing that poorly. It should not be doing that poorly. Okay? It really shouldn't. It just absolutely shouldn't. With all the hype given to James Gunn, and James Gunn understands these characters. He's such a comic book guy, and all these things that are said about him in a positive way. This should not be the result. It just shouldn't. If the movie Superman is a good movie, I don't want to hear people complaining that it's the day we live in. People are not going to see movies anymore and stuff like that. I'm actually gonna get out of Grok rather, although I could. But look, when was Spider-Man No Way Home released? 2001, right? This is like almost pandemic height. Okay, if the pandemic is the problem, this is pandemic height. Okay, nearly 2 million, 2 billion. I'm sorry, $2 billion. So no, you don't have a leg to stand on saying that people aren't going to movies. Okay. We go to Deadpool and Wolverine, which was 2024, just this last year. 1.3 million are, okay, not family appropriate. 1.3 billion. I'm sorry, I keep saying million. 1.3 billion dollars worldwide. 600. This is like nearly double. Spider-Man's. Okay. If I go back to Spider-Man's, 814 million. Here in this country. The fact that we have not gotten a good Marvel film uh, since, or very successful since then is not. It's neither here nor there in this. When Spider-Man Brand New Day comes out, it's going to maybe not make the 2 billion or something like that, but it is going to probably almost 100% certain it's going to exceed $1 billion. Spider-Man is a popular character. But we'll go to the Minecraft movie. The Minecraft movie was objectively not a good movie. It's not something that I could go and recommend and say, this is absolutely amazing. But it had a good fan base. It had a fan base that would go and watch the movie once and made nearly $1 billion. So the $1 billion movies are still out there and able to be made. You just have to make the movie. So, well, less people are going to the movie theaters. It doesn't really matter because they're overpricing the tickets. Okay? So, let's see. Avatar 2, 2022. Again, just shortly after the pandemic. Are people going back to the movie theaters? Yes. 2 billion worldwide. 684 million domestically. Well, is that, what are we going to say about that? Let's go back to Avatar. I should have just clicked on the current 2009. We would adjust for inflation for this. But here you go, 3 billion. I think that's just because the second one was not as good as the first one, possibly. Even though I don't care very much for Avatar, I'm not a big fan. But ultimately, the story was different, and whatever it was trying to say, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not getting into it. Top Gun. Oh yeah, we can go to all these kind of movies and prove this. Okay, Top Gun Maverick. 1.5 billion, almost. 718 million domestically, 2022. So again, it's not that we don't go to movies. Still, there are a lot of people not going to movies now because they're sick and tired of everything that's coming out. Okay. Now, if I were to look through all this, I'll tell you what. This movie Hard Eyes did poorly in the box office, and yet was okay. It was a pretty good movie. Comparatively, it's hilarious. Love Hurts was not very good. It was promoted a whole lot more than Hard Eyes. But yeah, hopefully Hard Eyes is getting its viewership otherwise. It's a very hilarious movie. Captain America Brave New World. Even though it is not a good movie, it made $500 million worldwide. 400 million, we'll just say 400 million worldwide. 200 million domestically, 200 million internationally. Even though it's not very good. Even though Thunderbolts is not very good. Thunderbolts made less than Captain America, but still not evenly split almost there, but just under 400 million worldwide. It even made that. It made that much. We are going to see movies. To see that much money dumped into movies that aren't any good. Just we are going to see movies. Okay. Let's see, I forget what size flop the Marvels was. Sorry, it's hiding from me. Ooh, 200 million worldwide. And I'm telling you, for how bad that movie was and how hyped up it was, how people saw it, said, no, we're not going. We're still going to see movies. Okay? This was 2023. And trying to think of some other, there was something that came out recently. Oh yeah, Jurassic World. Yeah, Rebirth, which is still in the theater near me. So it's also not done with its domestic run. But 800 million so far, not completed yet worldwide. And you saw the streaming numbers. It's apparently doing better than, say, Superman in streaming. It's right up there with Mission Impossible. Now, Mission Impossible is an obscurity. But anyway, we are going to see movies. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is almost 600 million worldwide, 200 million domestically. But there's just issues with the film. I probably should do a review of that along with Dead Reckoning. But Dead Reckoning was 500 something million, and this was because they were saying, oh, this is part one. Wait, I don't know that we want to see two parts like that. And supposedly the pandemic had a lot to do with these different issues. But anyway, 2023 delays and whatnot. We're still seeing movies. This is money spent. This is tens of millions of people going to the theater for the particular movie. Okay, it may not be 30 million, maybe 20 million or something like that, but there's tens of millions of people going to see these different movies. I would have to get a list up and just pull up something specific to try to give you something more than that. But again, it goes back to the audience lost. Look at that comic book movie site that I showed you, that article. DC has lost half the audience, and they did not lose half the audience because of Zack Snyder and his work and his doing. And anybody that blames it on that is badly mistaken. It was the studio that caused the problems. Okay, the studio refused to allow a sequel to Man of Steel. The studio was saying, no more Henry Cavill, no more. We're done. We get rid of him. Get him out of here. No Henry Cavill at all. Henry Cavill has gone on to make other movies that are very good movies, whether or not they even made a great deal at the box office. And that's a sad case on those things when they don't make as much money in the box office, but they're still good movies and enjoyable movies and generally family friendly movies. Okay, I'm not saying everything he does is that. I have my criticisms of any probably almost anything in Hollywood being put out is all like this, but it still remains, ticket sales remains a number that cannot be gotten past. Where is that half of the audience, or more than half of the audience? Where is that? Where are those millions of tickets sold? And I'm telling you, half or more of this audience enjoys the Zack Snyder films and is not for all this bashing of Snyder, even though it's being done. Much more than half of this. There is a minority that was loud that disliked Zack Snyder's Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, Justice League, and his version of the universe and where it was going. And we got to see in real time, almost. I mean, no, we did see in real time because Batman vs Superman was released, and it was announced that the Ultimate Edition, the uncut or the director's cut of the movie was going to come out. The director's cut of the movie was a game changer for critics and fans alike. The ones that disliked the movie, 180 on that. They turned around liking the movie, enjoying the movie. I watched it in real time. By the time when it was released, I was watching shows that were doing different ratings and criticisms of Batman vs Superman, and then 40 or so days later, when it released, or maybe it was 90 days later, actually 40 days later, it was released into some theaters, the Ultimate Edition. Whenever the theatrical cut left theaters, it was presented in that fashion, and then people were seeing it. And it was released, I believe, digitally, but somebody could check that out for me. But when it came out on disc, for certain, people watched it and said, "Yeah, this is what it should have been." And people did not have criticisms of it at that point. They were essentially, people were turned to on board. Even people that didn't like Man of Steel so much were like, Batman vs. Superman has changed. What's the next thing? We're going to Justice League. This is going to be amazing. It's going to be a two-parter. That's going to be amazing. And it was coming out at the same time that Infinity War and Endgame were being shot back to back. So they were saying, Justice League's being shot back to back, part one and part two. And there's a lot that's changed since then. But real time, we saw it where we were saying the theatrical cut, and then Suicide Squad, same thing. They cut that down too. They changed it. They had Trailer Park editors come in and change David Ayer's vision for Suicide Squad. We've seen it real time. Zack Snyder's comes out, okay, and you can watch it almost real time again when you see the Netflix shows with Rebel Moon. Rebel Moon, part one and part two, and redone part one and part two, renamed. They're almost different movies. Okay, they're almost different movies. I have my criticisms of what's not family friendly about that. I don't like those kinds of things, but I am amazed sometimes. I think that these people have glitches in their TVs, okay? I'm amazed sometimes at people that say that there were bad special effects, there was terrible CGI, and stuff like that. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Those were spectacular movies as far as spectacle is concerned, for sure. And an okay story. And the comparison kept going to Star Wars and Star Wars and Star Wars. If that was modern day Star Wars, it'd be a whole lot better than the modern day Star Wars that we're getting from Disney. Okay, but it's not even that to me. It's a completely different thing. But this is, again, this is a real time thing. The theatrical thing that Netflix wanted to say family friendly and you go ahead and watch it this way. Like, okay, you're cutting back on the vision that's trying to be presented, and you're gonna miss stuff. The director's cuts of the Rebel Moon movies, yeah, are much better than the theatrical versions. Much better. I could see the desire to get there from the theatrical, as is usual, but there was enough cut and changed in it to make it, again, essentially a different movie. Like I said, Batman v Superman, the same thing. You've seen it in Justice League. It took a few years, but Zack Snyder's Justice League came out, and the 2017 Justice League, it pales in comparison. Every, I don't want to use the universal term everybody, because there'll be somebody out there that says, I like Justice League from 2017 better than I like Zack Snyder's. Zack Snyder's okay, but it's just not that great. Yeah, there's very few out there that stated anything like that. Let me do this. I'm gonna get off of that thing. The fact of the matter is, again, still the viewership. If it was just the ticket prices are so high, then, streaming should be better. But we don't want to go to the theater anymore. We're all doing streaming. Everybody's doing streaming. Okay. Well, then it should be higher than it is. Apparently, Superman is not doing that well. Okay, and by comparison, you know, Mission Impossible is doing much better for long. It's been out longer, so it's just all. Actually, it may not have been out too much longer because Superman was released early. Supposedly, because Peacemaker was moved up and changed, and it was out of control of the man who's completely in control of DC, James Gunn. Now, I'm just saying he says one thing and then says another thing, and they don't agree with each other. They cannot be made to reconcile to each other. Therefore, he's a liar, and that again is my main problem with what's going on now. And my disappointments. Again, I'll put out another video about the editing of Superman and some things that could have been changed, taken out, and allow for more breadth and breath, breathing room that would probably have done a lot to improve the movie. Okay. I'll put that out, and I'll put out some videos from or having to do with reviews of these other movies as well. Try like Fantastic Four and some other stuff. I have to look at what's come out recently. But yeah, that's. I'm not really going to go any further than all that. The numbers, they do speak for themselves, although we have to kind of try to figure out what they are. It'd be great. Wouldn't it be great? Do you think it would be great if they just told us that the tickets sold? Just the number of tickets sold. Because they could tell us the tickets sold, and then the tickets sold for the premium shows, and the tickets, they could show us all those things. But we don't. We get estimates. We get a general idea. Why? Why are we all putting factors on stuff instead of straight up calculations? So, and I've already done a video previously concerning some inflation numbers and the idea of the difference there. But like I said, that's a low number. And if you look at the numbers more realistically, like we just did, uh, you know, it's not as good for Superman as the fans of that movie want to say. It's just not. It doesn't add up. And what y'all need it to do is add up. And you keep changing your story. Every time we talk to you, every time we listen to you, you change your story. You got a different tune. It doesn't have to make $1 billion. It's gonna make $1 billion. It's gonna make $2 billion. Some people are crazy enough to say it'll make $2 billion. It's gonna make $1 billion. It's probably not. It's gonna make at least gonna make like 700 million, 800 million. It's gonna make the Batman numbers. Now it's going to make, 600 million plus. Well, yeah, it's probably going to surpass 600 million in today's numbers, of course. But like I said, that's unadjusted for inflation. That doesn't beat Man of Steel. And Man of Steel, this is the comparison that other people are giving. Even though the box office is different, is lower, the number of tickets sold is higher domestically, even by the numbers, the lower numbers that are given by thenumbers.com. And the numbers.com, the $11 and some odd cents, I don't think so. I don't see barely a 50% increase in the price. Okay, or not even that. It's like 40% increase in price. Uh, I don't think so. I mean, you show me the place that you can get $10 tickets. It's going to be kind of hard. No, I know. $23 in New York and $9 in Wyoming or something like that. Yeah, I get it. And a lot of you get passes, and how do they figure that in? Again, tickets sold. Just tell us the tickets sold. Give us your calculating sheets, your actual numbers. Okay, studios, give us the actual numbers that you have. That you got receipts of this amount and this amount and this amount and this amount from uh, the different theaters. You get paid from those theaters. So tell us what that was. And theaters release how many tickets do you sell of each different category? How much does that equate to in money? And let's see some numbers. You know, I don't know how that would hurt your business. All right, maybe it would. Maybe it would. Maybe your price point is just you know so threatened by you know clarity there. I don't know, but and I'm not a guru on like books and stuff. I don't know if they do the same kind of thing, estimated sales and stuff. But I know that the authors get a check, and they can calculate that they make a royalty of a certain amount, and they get this. They can tell you how many are sold, okay? Because they're gonna check you out. You know. Anyway, that's my opinion on a lot of that stuff. Uh, I don't think the numbers add up, and I think if we look less givingly to Superman fans out there, the James Gunn Superman fans, the this newer crowd, if we are less giving to you and less kind to you, I mean, we're giving you conservative numbers. If we're less conservative and more realistic, the numbers are worse for you. And you need to take that into account and consider it. Think before you try to hype up all the stuff in a direct comparison to these other things and claim how much greater this movie is. That's where you're going to get the pushback from people like me, is you're not being honest and the numbers don't work for you. They don't add up for you. Okay? There are still people going to the theater that push through it, but there are less people probably going to the theater because it's twice as expensive to go to the theater now than it was 12 years ago or 13 years ago, approximately. So I'll leave it at that. We're going to get out of here from there, and let it all go. You figure it out for yourself, if you will. but yeah, uh, Superman. It's just a disappointing film. Disappointing results. Disappointing all around. WBD, you know what to do. I'll tell you the last thing I will say today is what Warner Brothers Discovery should do. Very simply, if they're not going to just go ahead and sell the company and let somebody else do what I'm about to say do, then what they should do very seriously is release these films and and get back these filmmakers that people were impressed with and enjoying before. Films like Batman Forever, the Schumacher cut. Release it. It's there. Just go ahead and release it. If you want to clean it up with $1 million or something like that, which is what I heard in a recent YouTube video, then go ahead and do it. Clean it up, make it a little bit, uh, a little bit better, as it were. Uh, Again, cleaned up. We eat those things up. You know we do, because Superman 2 was redone to the Donner cut, and it became near impossible. It became very hard to find a Superman 2 from Richard Lester available until they finally came out with it again on 4K. And in larger Blu-ray boxes and stuff like that, collections. But for a while there, they weren't even selling that. It was Superman, and then the Donner cut, Superman 2, and then so forth. And Superman 2, the Donner cut is rough. Okay, there is not polished. There are some problems with it, and there's some dialogue changes that are probably for the worse. A couple of them. A lot of them are better. There's certain scenes that are cut out that were in the Richard Lester version. There's like character building stuff. Okay, with the villains. There's I don't mind the Donner cut. I grew up with the other, so I'm kind of more attached to it, and it is a finished product, a finished film. So it just appeals to me a little bit more. But we still, as fans, eat it up. We will buy these director's cuts these extended cuts, we would buy a director's version of Sucker Punch, which is, quite a bit longer than what it is now, and slightly different. According to Zack Snyder, we would buy that. We would get that. Even Sucker Punch, we would get it. Okay, and I'm not saying Snyder Bros and stuff like that. I'm saying fans of DC. We will get David Ayer's David Ayer's director's cut of Suicide Squad. We would love it. You won't release it just because you want to say The Suicide Squad by James Gunn is somehow better, which it wasn't better. Okay? People can like it or not, but it wasn't better than there are good shots and good moments and stuff like that are here and there. And there's not necessarily all of it, and it is not the praiseworthy movie that some people want to try to claim. And again, it's got dreadful things in it. Okay, that makes it unfamily friendly. James Gunn is not family friendly. Okay, and the most strict families would push away Zack Snyder and say, no, we can't do this with our family. But general audiences, the vast majority, are more likely to go to a movie of the nature of Zack Snyder than they are to go to a James Gunn movie. The only exceptions, theoretically, to that are the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, which are MCU movies, which are family-friendly related movies. So they are adjusted toward a Zack Snyder version of a film. Okay, and again, I'm not saying they differ necessarily a whole lot. There's plenty to complain about. Just comparing the specific movies that we're talking about being out and the direction that they're going. That's just not the way to go. Maybe my opinion, but it's really not there. But WB should be putting out these other movies. Bring Zack Snyder back, or bring back Zack Snyder's vision and let other filmmakers do it. And put out the version of the Snyderverse. You have to put out some director's cuts of the last several movies that came out too. Put out the director's version of those, and there you go. We got it. We would be pacified. You know what the problem is? I know. This is part of this last thing. This is what WB is doing. We're all a bunch of babies out here. We're like your babies, okay? And we're crying. We're crying for, entertainment. And what you've done in doing this and what you're doing, withholding from us these projects, you're slapping the babies in the face. You're abusing the children. You're abusing more than half of your audience. More than half of the audience that went to see, much more, probably 3/4 of the audience went to see Superman. Plus all the fans that don't want to see what's going on now or have given up on it and all these different things have happened. They will buy things like David Ayer's Suicide Squad and the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever. They will consume these things. Okay? They would be also pacified by these things. You don't slap a baby because it's crying and wanting something. Most people have pacifiers. They put in their baby's mouth, and the baby sucks on the pacifier and just settles down, quits the screaming and the crying, and moves on. Unless they really need some food, and then keep spit that out and keep going. But I'm talking about on a normal basis. The way you shut up a baby, well, is not to slap them. It is to give them a pacifier. We may not be getting the food we want. You might not release Justice League 2 and 3 from Zack Snyder and bring Henry Cavill back as Superman and have him make movies within the next couple of years. Although you ought to be on it right now getting it done, because all that is something for us to take in, and we would eat it up, and we would say our stuff's better than yours. It would be the banter of previously anyway. MCU fans versus DC fans. Our stuff is better than your stuff is. I like that. Okay, it's, it's this and that, but our stuff is better than yours. That would be all we would be doing. There's certain little good things. There's some little nuggets in there.